any kids who are 12 and under who would like to come with me to Children's Church this morning? Come on. Well, 12 and under. I'll take 12 girls and under. I'm brave.
You're missing out, Sebastian.
Would you like to come to Children's Church with me? Come on, Elisa.
As they're going, I'm just going to ask you to prepare your own heart and turn your will over to God. Allow Him to minister to your heart. Bring down the walls that you might have been putting up. Just literally tell Him, Lord, I give you my will. I want to be in alignment with what you want to teach me today.
Yes.
So the message is, when He knocks, what is your will set to do? Our will is very important, extremely important. It can be as simple as telling Him, like I do that myself. Just saying, I turn my will over to you. I will to do your will.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really important question when He knocks. Has anyone ever come to your door and you've either been towards the back of your house, or maybe you knew who it was and you didn't want to open the door? So what happens over time? 30 seconds pass, a minute passes, 2 minutes pass, and hopefully they do what? They leave. Yes. Eventually they're going to give up hope that anyone will hear and come to the door and let them in. But not our God. Revelations 3:20 says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anybody hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and will dine with him and he with me." Now the Greek word for knock is a very complicated word that I decided I was not going to try to say. But the point is that it's in present tense. And grammatically speaking, it's called present active indicative. And I have not retained any of my grammar school rules or terms. So basically, he knocks and he knocks over and over again. It's not he knocks and you don't answer and he leaves. He knocks. He continues to knock.
Yes.
And he hasn't quit on you. For anyone who fears that they've missed that opportunity, he's still there knocking. And he wants you. That's the exciting thing. He wants you. It doesn't matter what you've done. He wants you. And if you've not found peace, this invitation is to you. So if you are like I was, I had a lot of grime on the walls of my heart and my conscience, and I had a cemetery full of skeletons in my closet. And I was certain that there was no way that God wanted me. There was no way that he was knocking on my door, or at least that he was continuing to knock on my door. But the great thing about our God is that he is consistent. And as fallible as we are as humans, and as inconsistent as we are, God is not like us. He is consistent.
Amen.
Amen.
And thank God for that.
Amen. Amen.
So if you were like me once, and I thought that God wouldn't want me, that I had done too many things, harmed too many people, to stand before him, well, he's already prepared us for that. So I want to share a story. How many people here know that Central Florida is referred to as the lightning capital? So, and scientists have equipment to measure the amount of lightning strikes in any given storm. And back in 2006, my dad was just telling me about this. There were 30,000 lightning strikes just in Orlando for one storm.
Wow.
So as you can see, the background is a lightning rod. What does lightning do? The power of lightning. What does it do? It devastates. So a friend and a local pastor shared the story of childhood with this past Easter with a group of mixed non-believers and believers. And I just sat there and I thought, oh my goodness, I'd never heard anything like this before. And I intended in my heart at that point that I was going to share it at some point. Today is that day. And he shared about how when he was younger, they didn't have to worry about active shooter. They were worried about storms. That was their threat. So it was drilled into him what to do during the event of a storm. Well, one thing, you don't hide under a tree. If you are the tallest thing in the ground, off the ground, you lay down and get flat. And if at all possible, you go in and you take shelter. And so during this time, he had learned the function, the purpose of a lightning rod. A lightning rod is a conductor. And the principle was developed, a little history lesson, by Benjamin Franklin in 1749. And it's more than just a piece of metal that's hanging out in the sky. The lightning rod requires a connection to earth to perform its protective function. So it needs a wire that's on the side of a building and a ground rod to facilitate the release of that power. And the primary purpose of it is for protection of people and property, to prevent a building from directly receiving the devastating effects of a lightning strike. And Jesus is our lightning rod.
Amen.
Let this sink in. Jesus is our lightning rod. He was lifted up between heaven and earth, and he who knew no sin became sin. He received the full bolt of consequence to cover our sin. Propitiation, which I don't like that word because it's hard to say. It's the only path. Again, he is the only path. Please do not be deceived by what the world says. There is no other way to God or eternal life except through Jesus.
Yes.
Amen.
He alone is our protection, and he's alone the only way to the Father, to eternal life, to meaning, to true and never failing love.
Yes.
So right now, if you quiet your thoughts, whether you're watching on TV or you're in here, and ask yourself, if you have ever received the only key to a fuller life of purpose, promise, and meaning, ask yourself, am I weary? Am I tired of all this pointlessness? Am I tired of that feeling of being lacking or having a hole inside that you can't fill? In Matthew 11:28, there is a beautiful promise and that he makes to all of us. Jesus invites us, and he says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavily laden or burdened, and I will give you rest." So he not only gives us eternal life, he not only connects us to our Father in heaven, but he gives us the rest that will never end. It will never cease as long as we seek it from him. Now, our brother John Powell shared a phenomenal message this year where he allowed us to reflect on the facts of this world. So you will serve a master here. And we have a choice. We can serve God, our Father, or the world, and by proxy, the God of this world, which is little g. And you will be persecuted. But what are you going to be persecuted for? For right doing or wrong doing? And you will actually have the power here and today, if you never have before, to choose what will happen to your soul after you die. God's calling. So whether you die today, whether you die tomorrow, or 50 years, he will continue knocking until that day.
Amen.
Don't let it be too late. And let me tell you, that old life that we give him, our heart that is covered in that grimy, mucky mess, he never takes anything without gifting us something that is far superior and far better. Whatever you want is what he will give to you. Whatever, let me correct that, what you need in your heart, and he does give us our heart's desires. They all come from him. And because there's clarity that is necessary. In Sunday school this morning, we talked about how bad things happen to good people. Well, God uses these hard times in life to grow us. And so as we go through life, and we go through the trials, and we get closer to him and stronger, we get rid of our earthly flesh and our desires that do no good at all, but do harm. And we take on more of his likeness. those things, those troubles, those trials, they are for our benefit, or they can be if we purpose them for that.
Yes.
And why? Because we have an active enemy here. And so, because our enemy is prowling around looking for the weak to devour, what God gives us builds us up and strengthens us and makes us less vulnerable a less vulnerable target for our enemy. And he tells us as we go forward in Matthew, says to us in verse 29 and 30, take my yoke upon you. Now, if you think about, we don't do a lot of farming in our country, at least not our region. But a yoke is this metal contraption, a wood contraption that puts two beasts of labor under the same harness so that they go in the same direction. Now, what we can liken it to is more like a three-legged race. So, who are you tying your leg to, and where are they taking you? He continues and says, learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Being a Christian is not easy. It is far better than anything that the world has to offer.
Amen.
We were born to love, and we were born to be loved. We were born to care for others and be cared for by others. And without him, this work that we're called to is impossible. Not the true definition of love anyway. Because love is patient, it's kind, it's not jealous, it doesn't brag, it's not arrogant, it doesn't act ugly or unbecoming. It doesn't keep track of your wrongdoings, and it doesn't celebrate your failings. That's not real love. But God is love. He bears all, believes all, hopes and endures. And his love, he never fails. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, and you're making up reasons why not now, I get it. I've been there. I had my own reasons. And again, to clarify, the Christian walk is not for wimps. So if you're looking for something easy, this isn't going to be it. Jesus is knocking because he wants you. This is personalized, you. And he died for you. And he will keep knocking until you die. So I strongly encourage you to talk to someone today. If you feel the nudge, if you feel something prodding at you, let today be the day that heaven celebrates over you. So I want to end with a very special blessing. In Ephesians 3:16 and 17, he says, may God grant you to be strengthened with might through his Spirit in the inner man, your soul, and that Christ live and reside in your hearts through faith. And may God bless you and tear down the walls that keeps you from opening this door to Jesus and eternal life. God bless you all.
Amen.